Well, good afternoon. This is Leon Matthews, and I'm here for Rez Ramblings, and it's a quiet afternoon on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and you know, there's so many people coming to Pine Ridge. I mean, just over the last 6 months, I've seen, you know, numerous film crews. I've seen there's like a lot of little crews coming. I've had NBC Dateline, I've had 2020 or ABC's 2020, NBC's Dateline. I've had Russian television, and they're doing some documentaries. Oprah Winfrey, the Oprah network came in this morning, and you know, there's a buzz. I just talked to a film crew just now. They were doing some things, and something about a manifesto, you know, and it's like, whoa, man, people are coming here by the droves. Film crews, I mean, BBC, I mean, where would you ever see BBC come in? And so here we are sitting in Pine Ridge, South Dakota, you know, the center of the universe. I heard someone say, well, the center of the universe is everywhere people are. But you know, one interesting note, you know, I was listening to a guy, a preacher, an evangelist, and he was talking about the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe. They call themselves the people, and the Navajo, the Dene, they call themselves the people. The Cheyenne call themselves the human beings, and there's lots of ethnocentrism in the American Indian tribes. But Lakotuks, they call themselves allies or friends, and it's really fascinating when you start to look at the Lakota way of life, because it really comes down to the Tiospaye, the Tuahe, which means family, and then of your immediate family. But the Tiospaye is a concept of helping one another and working, going through this life as human beings, and helping each other and taking care of each other and celebrating and mourning with each other. And that's really what the Tiospaye is really all about. And so this week we are changing the name of our church, and it was originally the Pine Ridge Gospel Mission. Then I remember it that name, and then I remembered it Pine Ridge Gospel Fellowship when they started saying you need to start progressing and moving forward and moving into a corporate model. All right, I remember that because I was here back 20 years ago, and it was like 20 something, closer to 30. but I know the denomination wanted to set up a corporation here, and that corporation would rule over the people that come to worship at the Gospel Fellowship. And so this past week, through prayer and through thinking about it and searching out, you know, what we should do, I presented to the church that we should change our name to the Tiospaye, and it means the extended family. You know, a concept that has been working on the plains for centuries before the corporations came in. You know, there's a quote by an American Indian activist, and he said, "I don't want to try to take over the United States government. Corporate America's already done that." And so that's a pretty cool quote. And you know, I don't want to create this place. You know, there are pictures, if you go online, there are pictures of the boarding schools where they bring in the Indian children with long hair, and they're dressed in their clothing, their Indian clothing, and all of a sudden, you know, they show you another picture of how they look, and they're in suits and their hair's combed, and they had their hair cut, the boys, and it's really killing the Indian and saving the man. And just recently, there's another pastor or preacher or something, I don't know what he is, but here he's preaching on Friday nights on the internet, and he's in a suit and a tie, and he's got his hair cut real short, and he's like, and he's saying, you know, everything Indian has to go. And I'm like laughing because, you know, it's like, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You know, the whole issue is that white America, white European Americans came and they sought to kill the Indian and save the man. So at the end of the day, you know, this preacher, evangelist, he's Lakota, and he's like saying, you need to get rid of everything. He's way off base. And, you know, it's like, if that were true, you know, that because if we want to get rid of all of the sin-stained culture, that's what he called it, you know, that the Lakota culture is sin-stained. You know, the American culture is just as stained, and he probably, most likely, even more stained. And I know that may sound anti-American, but you know what? People need to get it right. Being an American does not equate being a Christian. And being a Christian should not equate being an American. You know, and we need to restructure who we are as people, and we need to stop living in corporation. We need to stop living as if, you know, as though we have a board of directors, our board of elders, our board of overseers, or whatever you want to call them. You know, the church polity of America is based on the corporate model. The corporate model makes decisions based on business. You know, and the way we need to make decisions is based on love and family. You know, it's more biblical than making it based on business decisions. You know, I'm a liability. You know, it's like, so don't support what I do, support my ministry. You know, those are based on business. And one of the coolest things, Francis Chan, he's a great preacher and great teacher of the modern day, the 21st century. You know, and he's like talking about being radical. And you know what he says is that, you know what, they wouldn't have funded Jesus' ministry either. You know, they wouldn't have. You know, and it's true. So being an American and being a follower of Christ are not the same things. You know, and so we're changing our name to the Tiospaye because we want to represent who we are as followers of Christ, but also as Indians. And you know what the Indians did? They had hunkapi. It's a ceremony where they would perform this ceremony and they would make relatives. They would bring people in and they would honor them, and they would make them a relative, and they were grafted in. You know, when Jesus died on the cross, he made it possible for people around the world to be grafted into the family of God. You know, that is Lakota, and that is being a follower of Christ. You know, so I hope that you know, exciting things are happening. Lots of people coming around. I mean, BBC, ABC, NBC, Oprah, the Oprah network's here. I mean, lots of people. You know, and there's a buzz. There's a buzz about Pine Ridge. It's like, you know what? It's like, I think something's happening, and so, you know, here we are. You know, we're just plugging away. Just keep going. We're at the higher ground. You know, we're selling coffees, we're making coffees, making soups and sandwiches, and hanging out, man. And it's like, and we're following Jesus. You know, that's what we're doing. And you know, it's like, for me, you know, it's very clear. It's very clear that the path needs to come from the people. And so stay tuned. You know, well, yeah, sure, watch Diane Sawyer on ABC's 2020. You know, watch NBC's Dateline. You know, watch BBC, you know, and, you know, Russian television. I mean, there are lots of people coming, and people are vying for that interest. They're vying to get in front of that camera. And you know what? It's a good thing, you know. But you know what? You have YouTube, and you could get a lot of hits by just looking at Pine Ridge. So here we are in Pine Ridge, South Dakota, working it out. And new good news. I mean, the Tiospaye. You know, you want to be a part of the Tiospaye, you know, come on out to Pine Ridge and be a part of what we're doing, and in this 21st century.